Welcome back, everyone, to Tojo Dojo, where we're talking about what we've been playing and watching on this week's episode of Pig's Ear in Review. I'm Myshtuff, joined by Riku Rose. How you doing this weekend?
I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Not too bad. Recovering from various amounts of food over the last couple of days. I think I'm mostly awake right now.
Yeah. Well, the American tradition of Thanksgiving,
Yes.
which I've become accustomed to.
Yes.
Although I had ate turkey before moving to this country, so that wasn't new to me.
It's impossible. That can't be the case. I don't believe it.
And I've been culturing you in the ways of the Panini sticker album.
Yes. You know,
which is big in my culture for the World Cup.
Is it panini because it's like a panini like press sandwich, or is that
No,
like
it's the company name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just realized, like, maybe there could be some good branding deals with that one. All right, for paninis in the future. But today we're going to be talking about Sonic Frontiers, as evidenced by my lovely Sonic shirt, and Andor. It's just called Andor, right? There's not like a subtitle to it or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think it's called like Star Wars -Andor.
Well, because they did that with like a Star Wars story, or with like Rogue One and Solo, but no, it's just Andor. Okay, so Andor. Okay, so let's just get right into it then. So Sonic Frontiers, I had high hopes.
Had.
Kind of.
Wow, you're letting it slip early here.
Okay, here's the thing. If you're familiar with the internet, the Sonic cycle is a very sad cycle with Sonic games, because basically the joke of it is that really is pretty true most of the time is a Sonic game gets announced. People are getting hyped, like this is finally the return. I don't know where he's returning to be frank, but he's returning. And then over time, they keep showing more trailers and they introducing his furry friends, and suddenly the interest starts tanking. And then suddenly the game releases and it's a shit show, and then the cycle begins anew, like a ever-expanding plague, basically.
Similar to the 5 stages of grief.
Exactly. There's definitely depression and denial somewhere in the cycle, for sure. So Sonic Frontiers got announced, what was it, last year, I think, or something like that. And it started out interesting, like a quick little teaser of him running, shocker. But, they didn't say too much about it. But then, footage and details came out that it was going to be the true first open-world Sonic game. Or, sorry, no, excuse me, not open world. They have a different word, open zone gameplay. They were very adamant about calling it that.
Japan.
Yes, let's make this as convoluted as we can. Yeah. But either way, they claimed like this is more of that open world feel, and which they, for the most part, haven't done before. I mean, they've had open environments in the 3D Sonic games, but not like a true open world before per se. So I was like, okay, well, that's certainly a different step, because that's the thing. I've always wanted them to just try something new. Don't do the same shit over and over again. And at the very least, you can say you tried. And that is essentially what they did. They did a very different take on this game. And the best way I can summarize how they did, before going to the details, is it's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. Like it's, and I'm saying that specifically because like it's not a home run, but it's not a shit show either, which is great.
Well, I don't like doing point scales on reviews, like like out of 10 or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when a Sonic game does something okay to good, like it gets an extra point based on the fact that it's Sonic.
Right. Yeah, I would agree, because like Sonic is just this weird franchise because it's lasted so long, I feel like, on brand recognition alone. And I hate, like, I say that as someone who does enjoy these games, but like I'm also aware enough to say that they're painful and could be better than they are. But I try to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but usually like I said, they usually fall flat. They're usually not the greatest games. But with this one, like I said, they do take a step in the right direction, which was nice to see. Like, and the article, I think you even posted it in the chat the other day, that basically the producer was saying something to the effect of like, yes, the game is released now, but we're kind of still testing things a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, when the trailers and like stuff came out, it wasn't even the trailer. It was like the gameplay footage where everyone on the internet got angry at it. Yeah, because it didn't look finished, right?
Right.
And then they came out and like, oh no, it's almost finished. Like this old footage. Like, it plays a lot better than you think, and you're like, why did you show this? Why wouldn't you show good footage when you advertise a game to make it look good? Hence advertising. And then like it came out, and everyone was like, yeah, those issues are still there. And then they go, yeah, we need more time to finish this. I go, you said literally 2 or 3 months ago you didn't.
You just said this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we've also talked about like the price and length of games, not necessarily... It can be hard to judge, and like I'm happy to pay for a game that's short, like if it's good and kind of different price range. So I'm thankful that I'll put it this way, I'm thankful that I got this game on this week of Thanksgiving. I'm thankful that I got this game.
Did you say this at dinner with your family when you went around?
We were all around.
You're like family members like, I'm thankful like my wife beat cancer, and then you just go, I'm thankful for Sonic.
I'm thankful. Look, honey, I'm thankful that I got this game for $40. That's what I'm thankful this Thanksgiving, because I think that is a very fair price point. If I would have paid $60, I probably would have been a little annoyed. I wouldn't have been pissed, but I would have been annoyed. But $40 for a partially baked game, I think is fine, especially for a Sonic game. But granted, I'm being a little harsh on this. I will say it's not all bad, but once again, for a AAA Sega flagship Sonic game, it's not as good as it could have been. So to kind of get into the details of why briefly, I'll hit a couple of categories. First of all, I feel like none of the mechanics of the game are well explained. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of collectibles. It kind of reminds me of some old like Banjo-Kazooie style stuff where you have to like get keys to unlock a door, to unlock another area. And there's a lot of that just collecting of stuff, which in itself is fine, but at times it gets maybe a little ridiculous, I will say, with how much shit you have to collect.
Yeah, I think it was like the Donkey Kong game on N64 where there was like 6 different colors of bananas to collect.
Right, yeah, it's like very reminiscent of that, because and here's basically how they mix up the game. So there's these 5 islands that are the zones, and each zone is then completely open. So that's kind of the difference between the world and zone categorization. But then within a zone, you have to basically collect the Chaos Emeralds every single time, and then you fight a final boss and then move on to the next zone, essentially. And it's like a rinse and repeat type of thing. But within each zone, you have to get the Chaos Emeralds, you have to get keys to unlock this like gate. But to get the keys, you have to beat individual like classic Sonic levels that are like in these portals. So that's how they kind of mix it up a little bit, where it's like you're kind of going back and forth between these two styles. But then once again, you're just collecting like keys and emeralds and like tokens and like over and over and over again. So that part was a little annoying.
Fluff, I mean, that's just a problem with open world games in general, of filling areas with fluff. Because I think it was, I played some Assassin's Creed game where like there was like 500 things on a map, and it was like, collect the flags and get the spot, like the bird eye view spots, and get this and get that. And I'm like, none of this is fun to do. I'm just going to stick to the main story.
Yeah, that's usually, for most open world games, that's typically what happens to me, and why I haven't touched an Assassin's Creed game in like 8 years probably. But the cool thing though is when you're in the open zone areas, the actual like navigation is pretty cool. So that part is unique and different, where you're literally, there's just rails and jumps and everywhere, and you're always trying to like do different kinds of platforming, which is pretty fun for the most part. So that's really cool, where you can just go super fast and you'll always find something to kind of mess around with. But then when you go back to the traditional Sonic levels that are like to get those keys or whatever, that's where you would think after this many 3D Sonic games, they would have nailed level design down, but somehow they keep still fucking it up with certain levels where you're like falling through platforms. It's not timed correctly. Like, even though you're going full speed, it like shoots you off into the corner and like just random shit like that, where I'm like, how did this get past quality testing at all? Like, just some of the worst level design, for not all of them, but like enough where it's like noticeable and annoying, basically.
Yeah, I've said to you before, and I think I've said this point a million times, but the main takeaway I got from Horizon, that game was fine. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but I was like, this would be a great template for a Sonic game. Like, big robots, because what does Dr. Robotnik make? Like, big robots, right?
Yep.
Have him running around in an open world. Have little villages with like little like animal people and whatnot, like Sonic and whatever. Right? Have your little special zones you can go into and whatnot. But people who love Sonic love the world of
There's
Sonic.
a lot of lore and fan fiction for this community.
Hmm. And no game have you really like been immersed in the world to my acknowledgement. Like Sonic's always been weird where like Sonic Adventure you had like human cities and stuff.
Right.
And even this game I look at it, I've not played it. And the world looks like Death Stranding with some Tony Hawk railings.
Yes.
It doesn't mesh with Sonic.
Exactly. That was going to be the other thing I was going to mention. The world is very bleak and like gray, and yeah, it literally does look like Death Stranding. And yes, there's some like funniness to it. You have some of the classic characters show up, um, but the world itself is just ultra depressing. And I think that's the other fault of this game. Where on one hand, it's cool because they do tie in the other games into this, so there seemingly is a connect like an actual canon timeline because they do
Hmm.
bring up events of previous games, oddly enough, which really hasn't happened
Do they
before.
bring up any of your fan fiction you wrote? Or
That's the DLC next year coming, the fanfic
okay.
add-on. Yeah. So we'll wait for that one. So that was cool, but yeah, the actual overall theme was like ultra depressing, and I'm like, this is not why people play Sonic. Like, this is a little weird. So it's not even that it was a
Yeah.
bad story, but it was just very out of place.
I just don't think like, Sonic's weird because in my head it shouldn't be hard to make a Sonic game, and this
You
isn't
would
me being
think.
yeah like this isn't me being like game development's easy. I've never made a fucking
Mhm.
thing in my life, right?
Yeah.
But if I was like if they sat me down like you can have 1 of these 10 projects to make,
Hmm.
like when they remade Final Fantasy VII remake, that was one where everyone was like, "Don't fuck this up."
All right.
Like, and there's like a lot of pressure on that, and you're like, but Sonic, I imagine, should be like pretty easy to make people enjoy.
Right. Well, that's even evidenced by how many amazing fan games there are. Like, even there are some open world fan games that have been done for the last 10 years that, granted, they're more smaller scale, like tech demo style games for the
Hmm.
most part, but at least it shows, like, if put in the right hands, you'll get an amazing experience. And it's like, they took some inspiration from that for this game, but like they still fucked it up. And that's where like I'm almost playing this series out of obligation now because I can't. It's like watching a train wreck. Like you can't help but watch, and like you just want to keep
Yeah.
seeing it. And once again, I did get it on sale, which was nice. Which helped. But like, it's really weird because okay, actually going back to another good thing. So like I said, at the end of each island, as well as some mini bosses, that is a unique way that they handled this game. Where
Hmm.
did you ever play Shadow of the Colossus by chance?
Yeah.
So there are bosses that are kind of like that, where you literally have to like run up them and like avoid
Hmm.
little attacks to like attack certain spots. And I was like, okay, well that's a cool. Like they haven't really done that in Sonic before, so that was a neat add-on that they did as well. So even though that was good, there were some of those boss fights that were super janky as well. That like you would be running up them and then it wouldn't connect or something and you would just fall down. So that's where like they took a lot of good steps forward, but then they also took either steps back or just were stagnant with things they've done in past games. So that's why I'm saying like yes, this is a step in the right direction, and it's not a bad game, but it's not a great game. Like similar to you, giving score is not typically my thing, but if I had to like somewhat judge this, I would say it's like a solid 6.5 out of 10, where
Mm.
it's playable. I think most people will enjoy it, but be prepared to get like frustrated beyond belief in like a few handful of areas basically that you but like what the shocking thing once again to me is there are other areas with like similar levels that went perfectly fine, but then for some reason they you basically repeated a section somewhere else and it like the game exploded and I'm like what the fuck is happening
Yeah.
in this game?
Yet again, it doesn't look like the most demanding game either. But then you
Right.
see you see videos where like railings are just popping in, and like performance isn't something I get up in arms about.
Right,
But this
right.
is a game that kind of relies on it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I will say fortunately in terms of like frame rate, like performance and just general like did the game crash or anything. Like I didn't have any issues necessarily with that. I mean, I played it on PS5 if that makes a difference. But I will say they apparently released this on Switch and they're claiming that the performance is identical and I've seen screenshots and videos to the contrary of that. So, be warned if you're trying to play this on Switch.
Switch is like 10, 15-year-old tech at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, because you think it was out of date when it came out because it was a handheld.
Right, exactly. Which makes sense why they're doing a lot of those cloud versions of games on Switch now, which not exactly a fan of that. But if that's the only way to get your game to run properly, I guess there you go. So anyways, I guess to sum it up, I will say I do recommend this game. Definitely, once again, get it on sale if you can. Don't pay full price for this game. But also, regardless if you're a fan of Sonic or not, I think you'll have fun. But once again, there's enough classic Sonic jankiness to still piss you off, where it's like hard to forgive at times, I guess.
Yeah, I saw it for sale, and then like that director said we're going to be working on it. I was like, well, let me know when it's good then.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in playing an unfinished game at the moment. I've got plenty of other things to play.
Right.
If when it's $20, you say it's done, maybe I'll come back to it. But you kind of blew it with your messaging and everything for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is some DLC coming, apparently. Like right now, so actually, really quick, I will mention, if you sign up for their newsletter at Sega, I got the shoes from Sonic Adventure 2 for free in the game. And there's also like some Monster Hunter DLC, like costumes. And I'm like, okay. They said more's coming. I don't know if it's literally just cosmetics or if they're actually like expanding the game or not. But I hope at a minimum there's some sort of patching or redesign of certain areas. I mean, to be honest, I'm not hopeful with that, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely. I played at some point, but you're not like missing anything if you like don't play it anytime soon either. So yeah, it's interesting. So either way, I'd be happy if they took this direction again for the next game. But for the love of God, they need to polish it up and switch up a few things for it to really be good. Because I do think this direction is cool, but I hope this isn't a one and done, and then they just go back to like the Wii Sonic game shit that they put out. Like that wouldn't be good either.
You don't want to play Sonic and the Secret Rings?
I'm gonna have to hard pass on that one. Yeah, why haven't we got a remaster of
that? So where are we actually landing? Are we landing thumbs up, thumbs down?
I will say thumbs up, but it's a very soft thumbs up. It's a partially.
We're at like 130. Yeah.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, something like that. It's worth a play for sure, but just maybe not yet.
Okay.
So, all right, over to you for Andor.
Andor. So, hey kids, do you want more Star Wars? Nope. Well, you're going to get it anyway.
Take it. You'll like it.
Yeah, I didn't care about this when it was announced at all. I enjoyed Rogue One, but I came out of that movie like, it wasn't really necessary. Like It was one of those, you know how in every movie now we have to explain every single line and give the backstory behind it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Rogue One. Good, but not needed.
Right.
And then they announced this, and I was like, oh, okay, like the guy in Rogue One, we know what's going to happen to him eventually because we saw it in Rogue One.
Yes.
But whatever. And I think it got to like episode 7 or 8 out of 12, and I still hadn't watched the show at all. And then I was like, okay, I guess I should like get through this or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I really, really enjoyed it.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think it's as good as like I really enjoyed Force Awakens when that came out. Okay, and I know now everyone's like hates it now because the internet, like the Sonic cycle, there's the internet cycle.
There's the Star Wars cycle or the internet cycle.
Well, it happened with the Raimi movies, the prequels. You know, where you have to. You love it at first, then a year or two after, it's overrated, and it actually wasn't that good when you watch it back. Mm-hmm. And then, like, it comes back to nostalgia where you love it again. Like the Nolan Batman movies fall into this category for some reason. I don't think it's as fun as Force Awakens. So I don't quite agree with the people who say it's the best Star Wars thing ever, or like the best Disney Star Wars thing.
Sure,
but it's up there. It's certainly up there. One thing I will say is this is, you know, like every Marvel movie when it gets announced, they're like, like all the reviews say like, oh, this one's drastically different, or it changes things, and then you watch the movie and you go, what the fuck were they talking about? It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
This one is really different in tone to anything else in Star Wars. It is really dark. It is really bleak. It probably most effectively shows how fucking awful it is to live in that world. With
Yeah, it's not all fun. Pew 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 lightsaber.
No, a lightsaber does not make an appearance in this entire show.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, exactly. The Force is not mentioned once.
Okay.
It just shows how bleak it is to have like a Nazi-style government hanging over you.
Yeah, so it's just like a military drama.
Kind of, yeah. It's like, honestly, this could have quite easily. You wouldn't be surprised if this was a script someone wrote and like someone went, "Oh, let's make it a Star Wars." Like,
slap some Star Wars on it.
Yeah, instead of like a revolver, can you have like a little laser gun? Stuff like that, right? Honestly, the biggest problem I have with this is the fact that it's come out in the middle of just this onslaught of Star Wars content to the point where I don't care about Star Wars anymore. If like the sequel trilogy had come out and then like this had come out 3 years later, I think I would love this so much more.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when we talked about Boba Fett, because I think at that point, yeah, they'd announced Andor, that maybe there was a teaser or something. I mean, I think I literally said to you, like, it's not that Andor looks bad, but it's like I have no desire to watch it because of everything else being oversaturated now. And I had zero desire. But granted, now between you and others, I'm hearing some actually really good things. So
but that's it. It's just like this world doesn't feel special anymore.
Right.
I remember going to watch The Force Awakens, right? And then when the big crawl at the beginning, you're sitting there in the movie theater and you're like, this is like a once in a 2-decade thing, watching a new Star Wars movie in the theater, right?
Yeah.
Like exactly. And now I've seen like 6 in the last 10 years.
So how does it feel to grow old enough to watch all of your favorite franchises go down in
feels
flames?
Great. It feels great. But that's what's so annoying, though, is like this ends, right? Because they've pretty much said we have this many episodes planned from the beginning.
And you said that's how many again?
I don't know. I think it's either 2 or 3 seasons, they've said. Right,
sorry. You're saying past season 1 there's more.
Yeah. They're filming the second season now, I think.
Okay, but how many episodes, is season 1, though?
12.
Oh, okay, so there's 12 total. Got it for the season. Perfect.
But that's it. Is I like as well that from the very beginning, they're like, we have a plan. It is going to be this much. Because I enjoyed The Mandalorian, but it's quite clear that was a lot bigger than they thought it was going to be, and it wouldn't surprise me if that goes on for another 8 seasons at this point, right?
Have they announced there is another season coming out, right? Isn't there?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Baby Yoda blew up the internet, and then they're
like, we
got to fucking milk this.
Of course.
But that's the thing is, I like that they've gone, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do. And that's always what I want from shows. That's what I always liked about like HBO shows. Like they're not afraid to end them at the right point. Yeah. And that's just what I wanted to see more in this universe in total, is control. And
where before everything had to be this continuity or like very explicit continuity where everything is planned for, it's planned in a different way. It's planned in the sense that this is a franchise. It has to be taken a bajillion different directions. It's like, no, just you can tell a story. Like, in all honesty, with the Werewolf by Night thing, even though I didn't like it, I was happy that at least it was self-contained. Like, they could kind of do their own thing. It would be nice more of those situations, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there is slight little tie-ins to, like, the other Star Wars movie. Like, there's a post-credits thing at the end that even I sat there and was like, is this really needed? Like,
yeah.
But that was it, really, in terms of trying to tie it in. Because even though it's the guy from Rogue One, like Cassian Andor, like, it didn't even need him in it. This could have quite easily been some guy called, like, Greg on a different planet somewhere.
Well, I mean, I don't know. On one hand, I'm sure they want to tie it into something they've done before, so they're like, well, I guess we'll do Rogue One. But I don't know. Would the show have been any less interesting? It sounds like no.
No, but you know what's also fun as well is, you know how Star Wars is quite clearly a good versus bad. Light side, dark side, good guys, bad guys. This does show that still. There's obviously still a good and bad side. but it actually shows you the bad guys living their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It shows like the fact that they are also scared shitless of doing one little thing wrong in their job and being killed.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
good. You know what franchise did that about 30 years ago?
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
But no, I get it. It is not like, even from though I like Star Wars from time to time, it is nice to see them explore that side of things and just show that something different. Because my issue with Star Wars is, even with the main franchise films themselves, to me, it's basically just a soap opera about a whiny little kid named Anakin and his stupid family. Like, like that's basically the main Star Wars films. I'm not saying I hate them, but like it's a very by the book, like, just like you said, good, evil, and that's it.
It's fantasy at the end of the day. It's a little pulp. It is essentially a Pulp Fiction fantasy movie. At the end of, I love the original trilogy. I really enjoy Force Awakens. Nearly everything else in that franchise, I'm like or bad.
How dare you?
Yeah. I'm sure I only get 6 death threats this week. But that's it. It's just nice to see something that seems to respect your intelligence and respect your time, right? As I said, I don't think kids are going to like this show because it is not light, it is not happy. There is barely any action in it, which I'm more than okay with, and I like it for that, okay? There's probably a shootout once every 4 episodes. Right?
Yeah, you watch the trailers, and it's not, like you said, it's not that typical like opening credit crawl type of like John Williams score. It's not pew 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 like lightsabers. It's like I said, it looks like a military drama.
Like, and the main thing you're enjoying watching is like Stellan Skarsgård like give a fucking great performance. There's like backstabbing and twists, but people don't explain it to the audience when they do it.
You don't need a 30-minute recap?
No, in the last episode, someone does something, right, that is very sly, and you, the audience, know why she's doing it, but it isn't followed up or preceded by her saying, I'm going to do this. Or a
flashback really quick or something.
Yeah. And, I'm sure there's people that missed it because guess what? The general public's pretty fucking dumb.
No, that's great to hear. So, I mean, I guess now that you've sat through it and you've said that they are filming more, are you genuinely interested in continuing it and seeing where it's going to go?
I want to carry on watching it. This is like, if they do Book of Boba Fett season 2, that's going to be like, I guess I've got to watch this just in case, like, fucking Jabba the Hutt comes back or something.
Oh, wait, in this season, he doesn't just take a bath, he takes a shower.
Yeah. He's upgraded the Jabba's palace to indoor plumbing.
Oh, goodness. Okay, well, that's good to see then.
Yeah, there was one episode where I was very distracted, though, because there was the guy who turned up who looked like fucking Bryan Cranston.
All right.
But he had like a big beard. I don't know if you've ever seen like when Bryan Cranston has a beard.
Yeah.
And the entire time I'm like, is that Bryan Cranston? And every time the guy's on screen, I'm not even paying attention because I'm just trying to work out if it was Bryan Cranston.
Was this like a cameo or something?
No, it turned out I sat through the credits. It was not him. Because it would have also been very weird for Bryan Cranston to make that appearance as well.
That would be odd, but then again, it would be nice.
Yeah. No, honestly, okay. I don't think anything's done as good a job in the Star Wars universe of building out the universe and making it feel more like a real, believable place. Which is great. I enjoy that. I'm down with that. Just maybe since this is so good, wait a little before you think about your next project in this universe.
I mean, have they announced what they're doing next? Or like at all? Actually,
I know Taika Waititi's meant to be doing a movie. I think they've cancelled more movies at this point because.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Because wasn't who did Last Jedi? What's his name?
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to do some?
He was meant to do a trilogy, which I think they announced before that movie came out, and then everyone watched it, and then they sort of went, "Oh yeah, we're still doing it." Well, where is it? We're still doing it. And then the Patty Jenkins, who directed Wonder Woman, was meant to do a Star Wars movie that got cancelled.
That's right.
Isn't
there another show coming out though, like a live action one? I thought there was.
I'm sure there is. I mean, they've got to be doing another season of Mandalorian.
Yeah, I meant like a new show that they haven't already started. I thought there was something.
I don't know if it's heavily rumored, but I think they're doing a Lando show with Donald Glover.
That, I mean, all right, I guess. But
right. This is it. It's just like it's you know what? Well, like, I'd be happy if there wasn't any more Star Wars content until season 2 of this came out in like a year and a half.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That would make me more excited than, guess what? We're following it up with Obi-Wan season 2.
Yeah, don't really need another one of those. Well, yeah, especially now, because at this point, it's not even just Star Wars. It's Star Wars and Marvel stuff being oversaturated. And yeah, it's just like none of it's special anymore. And once again, even in this case, where this is something that clearly you're saying you're liking, and I'm seeing awesome reviews, I don't want to watch it. Well, up till now, I didn't want to watch it just because, like I said, I was burnt out. But now that you're saying it's good, and others, all right, maybe I'll add it to the watch list.
You know they've got something. They know they've got something special with this as well, because apparently for a month they're putting it on the first 2 episodes on Hulu as well.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, to like advertise it.
Yeah.
They're also apparently going to be showing it on like ABC, the first 2 episodes.
Damn, they haven't done that before.
No, exactly. So they know people like this, and they've got something that people are interested
in. Okay.
Like,
I mean, and obviously Disney owns all these properties, so Hulu and ABC,
but
so
like
put the shit on there.
That makes sense, you know. Like,
yeah.
You know, like that's it as well. They didn't do that for Book of Boba Fett.
That's for damn
because that would probably make people cancel.
Yeah, this is actually having the opposite effect.
Not only am I cutting cable, I'm not signing up.
Yeah, fuck this. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'll add it to the watch list. I'm intrigued enough because obviously we've also of course talked about different scores like Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. We don't take it too seriously, but like even if you see something that's great, a lot of times you'll watch it and like, all right, this was just Oscar bait bullshit or like whatever, who cares? But it sounds like this one genuinely is good, which is nice to hear. So, all right, maybe I'm convinced now. Yeah.
At worst, I think you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Like that, which is always, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, you may have convinced me then. So, all right, I'll give it a shot. But I am still, I guess what I'd be interested though is, for whatever the next show is, like a new show that they greenlight, do you want them? I guess what would keep you interested in another new show? Is it just try a different genre again than what they've done? Like, do you want this kind of genre?
The reality of the situation is I'd just like them to leave Star Wars alone, but we know that's not going to happen.
Right.
I'm at the point in my life now where, unless it like ended on a cliffhanger or was intended to have a sequel at the beginning, I'd rather that people just did something new.
Yeah.
Again, as I said to you, this could easily not be connected to the movies in any way whatsoever. There's not much tying it to them. If they just came out and said, if literally the press release is, we are doing a Star Wars movie set 1,000 years before or 1,000 years after. Mm-hmm. It will have no connections whatsoever. It will just be set in that world.
Yeah.
That would make me more excited. And if they said, this will release in 5 years, and we're going to make Star Wars an event again.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of Star Wars, which honestly, where I think a lot of the old games came into play. Like if you played the old Jedi Knight games or Knights of the Old Republic, even if you didn't play them, they're still... That's the beauty of this universe is some of those games had nothing to do with the movies, but they were fun because they had that framework to it and you could enjoy them. So if they took that approach with the shows and the movies, I would think, and they had obviously talented writers and directors behind them, I think, they would do great. So
Star Wars was an event though. And I think people don't realize that was part of it. It was an event when a Star Wars movie came out and it's not now. That's the issue.
Unfortunately, yeah, and I don't, like you said, I don't think that's really going to change. I mean, Disney doesn't want to stop making money on these things, so like, it's going to happen. But it would be nice to give a little bit of breathing room. So I agree for sure. That's for sure. But okay, cool. All right, thumbs up for Andor then, and then a rough thumbs partially sideways for Sonic Frontiers. Like I said, get it on sale if you can. But yeah, if you played Sonic or watched Andor, definitely let us know what you thought, and let us know down below if there's any other things you'd like us to watch or talk about. And then until next time, we'll catch you then. Take it easy.
Bye.